raising awareness through every track. All-Star PD Sportscast on the rise, shouting loud, reaching the skies. Can't stop, won't stop, our game is strong, fighting Parkinson's all day long.
Welcome everyone back to another episode of All-Star PD Sportscast with your host Tim, my brother here in advocacy for Parkinson's awareness, and I'm Sharon's son George. We try to bring this show to you around the world for one purpose, and that's to really discuss the importance of how sports can slow the progression of Parkinson's disease. And we've had some incredible discussions and guests, but today is a real honor. I'm going to allow Tim to introduce our guest, but it's someone who really means the world to us all and will to you after you hear his journey. And I guess wanted to reiterate how important this show is, not just to gain awareness around the world, but also to help our incredible guest and his foundation, because he's doing some fabulous things around the world. But just wanted to send the show now to Tim to introduce our guest. And I think this is not only going to be really exciting for everyone today, but we have a person who has touched the world for so many throughout his whole life. And today we're going to also dedicate this show to all those battling Parkinson's and all those we've lost due to Parkinson's. But the fight doesn't end here. It has to continue. And today's mission is going to be a really exciting one, but educational. So welcome again, everyone, for joining us.
George, thank you so much. I'm going to be honest with you. My heart is racing. This is going to be it's not often we have the star power that we have here today. Just briefly, one of the best youth hockey players you've ever seen. An NHL great who played with an original six team, the Blackhawks. An IHL coach. He coached the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was an NHL coach. Member of the Sports Ontario Hall of Fame. A best-selling author. Has his own foundation with the number one rated. He was on one of the number one rated shows in sports shows in Canada. A rehabilitation center that was number one in the country. I mean, all of that. But the biggest compliment that I could give this man is that he is. If you want to put a badass to Parkinson's warrior, Steve Ludzik is your name. You want to talk about a guy that does not know how to lose, a fighter, a winner. I am so honored to have one of my heroes on this show today, and I cannot tell you how much it means. Absolutely. Standing out, Steve Ludzik, NHL great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Steve.
Hey guys, you called me today to do this, and I wanted to do it. I know what you guys are doing. Everybody in the loop know you guys, know what you do, know what you bring to the game. I thank you. It's my privilege that you called me, and I just love seeing guys, young guys, that don't take no for an answer and they get it done. A lot of people do a lot of chit chatting and they go and say, I'm going to do this. Guess what? We need people in this world that get things done. And I'm proud to be on your show and ask anything you want.
Thank you, Steve.
I really appreciate your time, and it's just an honor to have you again. I have to admire all the things you've accomplished, but maybe you could start us off going back to the beginning when you first saw some of the signs, and back then too, technology and everything was so different, but your diagnosis with Parkinson's disease.
That's a great introduction. I was coaching in Detroit, the Vipers. We were winning Turner Cups and setting records, and I noticed when I came home that summer, my baby finger on my left hand started vibrating a little bit, and I went, geez, this coaching really takes a lot out of you, but I didn't think it took that much out of you. And it got progressively worse. And my shoulders, I remember my shoulders ached like a son of a gun. And the walking got a little bit stricter. It got a little bit confined. My one arm didn't swing. It's probably a lot of people have the same thing. I had to work. I kept it quiet for 10 years. Yeah. I never told anybody. I kept quiet because I thought the stigma of having Parkinson's would say to a team, well, he can't coach. It's too hard of a job on him. And I remember sitting in my bed at home in Niagara-on-the-Lake and saying, what am I running for? What am I hiding for? I wrote a note, and I still have it today, and it was addressed to Parkinson's disease. And it went something like this: Parkinson's, you knocked on the wrong door. You tapped the wrong guy on the shoulder. You asked the wrong guy to come outside. You pissed off the wrong guy. I ran from you. I hid from you. I did not want to fight you, but you would not go away. You stayed with me and hurt me. But now let me tell you, Parkinson's, now you are hunted, and I am the hunter, and I will strike true. And that's how I wrote this letter to myself. And I said, I know I'm going to be standing kind of alone amongst people. But you know what? Everybody has been damn nice to Steve Ludzik in his life. And we opened up the Parkinson's Rehabilitation, Steve Ludzik Parkinson's Rehabilitation. And it was #1 in the world. Not #2, not #3, #1. And we did such great work. And as we speak, I'm not quite sure where we stand right now. We've raised $1.5 million.
Huh.
But what I remember most, guys, was when the doctor talked to me and said, young man, you've got Parkinson's disease. I'd sat there, she walked out, and a nurse came in after half an hour. I was waiting there. I said, is anybody going to come to see me? And the nurse said, no, nobody's coming to see you. You're on your own.
Steve, it's amazing. I had the same exact experience.
No.
I went to orthopedic after orthopedic thinking I had an issue with my spine. I had trouble with the gait.
Yeah.
And I went into New York City. They say the best of the best, go there. And
Yeah.
same experience. She pretty much said to me, you have young onset Parkinson's.
Yeah. How old were you, Jimmy?
I was 42.
Yeah, I was about 40.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie to you. I started tearing up.
Yeah.
And she literally said to me, well, do you want to hear the rest of this? It was like so matter of fact. Like, tap a finger, raise a leg. Okay, you have Parkinson's. And same thing, kind of just walked out. I mean, your life changes.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because I still battle with this. And I'm always curious, and we've never had the honor of talking to somebody who's in the public eye. If you don't mind sharing, what was it like to come to grips with that? And for me, it's been a hard time accepting it. I know, listen, I did my research on you because I find you such a fascinating man. And I know that one of the reasons that you came out was because on one of your shows, the shows that you did, one of the writers thought you were slurring your words and thought you were
Absolutely. Very good. I forgot about that. That's true.
So I know that's one of the reasons you came out. But I mean, internally, when did you come to grips with it and say to yourself, because listen, I view you as a guy that does not take no for an answer. You're a winner.
That's right.
In hockey terms, I'm going to say that you've taken the world and you got the world spitting out chiclets, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a winner. I mean, I'm sure for somebody like me to come to terms with it is different for somebody like you with that mindset. When did you come to terms?
That's well put. That's a great question. And I think it started when I was young. I've always had some type of adversity. Nothing went just completely smooth, but that forms your backbone, your spine, like I laugh when I was a kid. I was coming home from school and I was getting chased by this bully who was like 2 years older than me and about 5 inches taller. And I came home, my mom said to me, Lovey, what's wrong going on? And so I got this chase. Well, my dad happened to come in from work and he said, come here, sit down. And he butted out his cigarette, which all guys smoked back then.
Right.
And he said, you got no choice. You got to stop this guy. You grab him and give it to him at school, in the hall, whatever you got. Don't back down. Don't back down. And I remember my dad's words. He passed away when he was 50 years old. But boy, he gave me some good information. And it was like, that was one of the things. Fight back. Don't give up. Mentally be tough. And that's the hardest. You guys know that's the hardest thing, is to be mentally tough. Some days you feel better than others. Some days you feel worse. I still feel physically, I work out every day, not much, not long, but I work out every day, try to
Well,
keep.
tell us, what is it? What is a typical day for Steve Ludzik post
Well,
career with
you know
Parkinson's
what?
look like?
Typical day for me is getting up in the morning. I usually get up very early. That's part of the Parkinson. It robs you of sleep.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And if you get a good sleep, you're apt to have a better day.
Correct.
I do some stretching. I have a light breakfast. And then I go to the gym and work out for half an hour on weights. Heavy, light, doesn't matter. I just like to do something every single day. I walk with my wife, and I'll tell you guys an interesting story to show you how I'm well known in Niagara Falls.
Very.
I went for a run one night, and I was so mad at myself. I says, I'm gonna get my legs working. They're gonna run me, I'm gonna run 5 miles. And I got going, I went, geez, this is good. I feel great. And then went another couple miles, and I went, oh, I feel fantastic. And then all of a sudden my legs stopped and I couldn't move. I'm 5 miles from my house
Oh,
and I couldn't move. So I went to a bar that was off the side of the road. And I walked in, and the lady thought I was a bum off the street. And the bartender went, I said, can you call my son for me? I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone. And just my son will come pick me up. No. I went, what? Pardon me? No. That really hit me. And it really hit me hard. And she motioned to 4 guys playing poker. Throw this bum out of here.
wow.
I got up, come walking. I went, don't even think about it.
That's
Go
amazing.
to your chair now. My wife, my 2 sons came pick me up, and my wife went in and went to the bartender. I hope someday you have somebody that has physical problem, an ailment
Yeah.
like, and you know what? Whether you're a bum, which I'm not, whether you got $10 million in the bank, you don't
Irrelevant.
treat people like that. You don't treat people like that. And I started realizing too, like it took me a lot of firework. And I got to tell you, I'm sorry I'm skipping around a little bit. I'm
That's okay.
talking to you guys too. When I put back as much as I have to Parkinson's disease, it makes me feel even better than I can't describe it. Like what you're doing now, you will not see the fruits of it right away, but you will. I'm predicting this for you guys. You will be a number one thing. Like we need something like this right here. We need a calling card. We need the guys to talk. The depression and Parkinson's. We need somebody like you guys coming out and saying, "Hey, here's a number to call in." We can all help each other, but it can't work unless we have people ready to shed the gloves to fight, and that's what we need. And I'm proud I'm on your show, and I like what you're doing. And I think like I actually went to, you're probably going to see something from my son. I bought, when I first got diagnosed with Parkinson's, I set up a boxing thing at a golf course, and we
Wow.
had great response. I urge people get a speed bag,
Yeah.
get
The
a
move.
punching bag. Yeah, because it helps you. I don't know why, but I don't ask questions why. I
Well,
can't
Steve,
explain it, but it helps,
I'm going to be honest with you. We've spoken a couple of times on the phone the past couple of days, and I keep telling you how much of an honor it is, and how much of an honor it is, and how starstruck I am being a hockey fan and being a fan of you. I'm more of a fan of the fact that you're now on I should say I'm on your team. We are Parkinson's Warriors, and you can.
We'll work together.
Yeah.
We'll work together.
You
Yeah.
got to see on my sweater, pal.
Oh,
One
thank
area,
you.
one area you mentioned earlier, which I find fascinating and important, is that you knew about your diagnosis and were silent for so long. My
Yes.
mother, as we spoke earlier, and everyone listening likely knows, she had Parkinson's for 15 years. I only knew about it the last 4. So for 7 years, or forget the math, she just either didn't know what it was, she felt ashamed, and she just didn't want the world to know about it. And that's why, again, I think not only you're a hero on the field and on the field, off the field, but because it's inspiring seeing someone like you who could live a private life. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Yeah.
chose to be public, speak out. And if we even reach one person, we always say it'll
Oh,
change their
guys,
life forever.
I said to my wife when I got off the phone with you guys, I looked at my wife and said, these guys got a great, I guess when you meet your wife or you meet somebody you're gonna marry, and you know, like me, I knew I was gonna marry my wife when I
40
met
years
her,
now,
at 17 years old.
Wow.
And whatever that is, I don't know. I got it, and I just knew that this is gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge for people.
Wow.
I will predict that in a couple of months, you're gonna be more busy than ever before. And whether you got to go on the road to talk to people, I have my own radio show now, and I just tell funny stories. But some stories aren't funny.
Right.
It's not, you can't make fun of Parkinson's. But I my buddies all know that at 2 o'clock I go for a nap. They all know that. They said Ludzy's gone from 2 to 3, and you don't bother him. He's not going to pick the phone up anyway. But I had, you know what, I'm going to Florida the next couple of days. And
Actually, that's right.
this is one thing that came out of my Parkinson's clinic at Steve.
I'm in South Florida, just so you know.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
These glasses,
Mhm.
I bought them because I wanted to test them for what I thought was you don't have tremors when you sleep. So these glasses are to trick my brain
Wow.
into thinking that I'm sleeping. And as I say, I can't guarantee it, but I can tell you, I feel a lot better with them on than off.
Wow.
Ludzy, you're acting that you're trying to be a cool guy with the blue shades. No, Ludzy's just trying to get by every day and trying to feel good and trying to help people. If I wasn't, then I should, and then that's when I'm stopping. I don't need
Well,
to.
I'll tell you the truth, Ludsy. Part of the reason that I started this with George is, yeah, I went to doctors. We all know that this disease affects everybody differently. What works for one person does not work for another.
Yeah.
So I appreciate even the thing with the sunglasses, because that's why I even selfishly, to help myself, we needed to form a sense of community and see what works for each individual person, because those glasses might work for you, they might not work for me. Same thing with meds and physical therapy. So the more information we get, the more we can help each other.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, and this is when we'll find out whether we're going to be good friends or not. I had some doctors come to me and say, Ludzy, try taking 2 puffs of marijuana. I've never used a drug in my life. Never used an illegal drug in my life. If I don't sleep, I don't function well. So I decided I'm going to try it, and it works.
It does.
For me, it does. It does. And you know what? And I love nobody can go back to say, well, Ludzy never smoked a joint in his life. Never smoked. I have a little bit of whiskey on the side when I play. Me and Daryl Sutter and Tom Isaac used to go out once in a while as teammates. And they were good old boys. But I'd be amiss. Can I say shit on the air?
Of course.
I'd be chicken shit if I didn't come out and say, I use this to get me an extra 3 hours. Like some days you go get up, you've had like an hour of sleep all night.
Yeah, I know.
You're walking through life in sleepwalking. So thank you very much for allowing me to say that.
I have good news. The good news for you is I'm a police officer and a lawyer. So in certain states in the United States, or actually, it's legal in certain states in the U.S. Florida is one of them with a medical license, but my mother did try it. I do say I'm for it just in case someone who has Parkinson's or a ending disease.
Yeah.
very important. I think we've done shows and written articles on how important it is. And obviously we can't tell everyone because we're not medical doctors to do it, but every journey is so different. It didn't work for
Right.
my mother, but I would have regretted if she didn't try.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
Steve, I have a question for you. I know you're pressed for time a little bit, and I know
No,
this is
I'm
about.
good.
We're going to close out with PD, but you're name dropping now hockey. You mind if I ask you a couple of hockey questions?
No question. Ask them.
All right. So I know you started with you got drafted by the Blackhawks,
Mhm.
but I know that you came up as a big time goal scorer in the center, and you had to
Yeah.
learn another position, and they basically told you had to get grindy and get into the corners and be a
Yeah.
checker.
Yeah.
Do you think that attributed? And you don't have to answer this if you don't want. Do you think that?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I did my radio show the other day and I told my host, the guy that's with me, I said, I'm in a bad mood today. So play off it. And I said, you know what? It's preposterous that they don't think that Parkinson's disease is caused by blows to the head. And then there's some smart asses say, well, it's all about fights. It's got nothing to do with, it's like, I say playing hockey is like being on the bumper cars at the national exhibition. And you can go a minute and a half bumping into cars, but they blow a whistle and you get off. Being a hockey player, you take those bumps. And I dare tell anybody that hockey's much rougher than football. Even the football players know
I agree.
because you got a yard and a half to get your speed up in football to hit a guy. Hockey, you're skating 35 miles an hour. That old thing, velocity equals mass times force or whatever. I missed that class, but there's something out there like that. And I just go like I had 30 fights in the national hockey. That's fairly good amount. I never hurt anybody. I never got hurt. But I'll tell you, I was always, as a kid growing up, one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
And even practices, guys, just the wear and tear of practices, that adds to your problem. And some smart ass said to me, well, how do I say, I don't think kids should be hitting at a young age. I really don't. And that's because, and I said, you try being on my side of the fence with Parkinson's and tell me that, oh, it's worth it to hit and bash kids that are 10, 11 years old going for a trophy. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's not worth any of that stuff.
No, I will tell you, I should be very honest with you. While you are one of my heroes, I'm a New York Ranger fan. So
Steve Larmer fan then.
well, that you took the words out of my mouth. I owe you a huge debt of gratitude because that '94 Cup, you probably taught some guys along the way, the Brian Noonans, the Greg Gilberts, the Steve Larmers of the world.
Yeah.
So I thank you for
Brian
that.
Brian Noonan was a great teammate, great guy, funny guy from Charlestown, Mass, I think, from Boston. Kind of like Jackie O'Callahan, who was on the American Olympic team in '80. My favorite, Steve Larmer and I were teammates in junior. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but the only hockey card there's a hockey card of me and Larmer.
They got it backwards.
They got it backwards. You know your hockey. And they never corrected it, but it was funny when we went to get our cars, we got a big box, Larmer and I, and we were looking at it and we were doing, and there must have been 300 cards or whatever it was. And the last couple that was me and Larms. And Larms looks, he goes, that's not me, it's you. I kind of like the way mine says I won Rookie of the Year.
I love it.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite?
Still one of my best friends. And I'll tell you what, that's another key component, Jimmy, is that friendship.
100%.
Friendship. Steve Larmer, one of the first guys I called when I got diagnosed.
Wow.
And he doesn't boo, doesn't say nothing to anybody. Greg Gilbert, a good friend of mine. Do you know Greg Gilbert and I are still to this day the only guys that played in the Metropolitan Toronto Hockey League that coached and the head coach in the National Hockey League. Greg Gilbert's a good friend of mine. Great guy.
And I believe your assistant was Torts, right? Didn't you probably Torts everything he knows about defense and blocking?
Yeah, Torts. Yeah, we had a few problems, but
we won't get into that then.
The There's a Torchetti too, from Boston, and we worked together for years. But I'm happy for Torts. that he's had success. A colorful guy. Not what I would say I need as an assistant coach. I mean, I could get hot up at myself, but the two hotheads don't work.
Who would you say was the best teammate you ever had and the hardest player you ever played against?
Brian Sutter, the hardest, toughest. You know, the Sutters called me from Toronto about 6 months ago, and it was Richie, one of the twins. Said, Ludzik, we're in Toronto. We're hiring a limousine, and we're going to come down there and hijack you and take you out of there, bring you back to Toronto party. I said, guys, I just got a new liver. I can't drink. I don't, you know. And we did get together in Toronto, and we had the most fun time. And just a ball. And I was really close. Once you're close to one brother, you're close to all. Daryl was our captain. It was my next door neighbor in Chicago. Brian Sutter was the toughest guy. Ben Wilson, pretty tough too. What's funny? I pause on talking about toughness because I'm talking like there's a difference between being a good fighter and being a tough guy.
I agree.
I'd rather have a tough guy than a fighter on my team.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you about somebody because it's not every day that we get a chance to talk to somebody who could talk about their peers. Until I learned about you and how you were just a winner and you just motivate me. But I will tell you, before that, one of my favorite players growing up, because listen, let's face it, with Parkinson's, you need the motivation. You need something to get you up in the morning.
Got it, brother.
Positive. Tell me a little bit about Mark Messier. And if you tell me something bad, I'm going to lose all faith in humanity.
No, nothing bad. He is the ultimate. What I know about Mess, I remember we stretched the Oilers to 7 games when they were the best, when I was in Chicago. And the guy who changed the whole series in that 7th game was Mark Messier. His eyes show you that what's inside. The eyes are the key. Great strength. I don't think he ever lifted a barbell in his life, but I think he did a lot of push-ups. And Paul Coffey was a great friend of mine. Said he's a scary guy when he's pissed off.
Wow.
And I have nothing but respect for him. He loves the game. He gives back to the game. Just everything that I believe in too.
And I'll tell you, talking about respect, a lot of people don't know this about you because it's not on a stat sheet. In my opinion, being the hockey buff I think I am, the greatest compliment anybody has ever given you is maybe the greatest player who ever put on a pair of skates is Wayne Gretzky.
Yes.
Said he hated playing you more than anybody. And he actually asked Paul Coffey to tell you to leave him alone.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great, it's good you got that. That's not a very well-known story, but it's a true story. And what we read when we were 10 years old, he scored 375 goals that year, and he lived in Brantford, which is a little town south of Ontario. And I played in the Metropolitan Toronto. Gretzky had 375 goals, and I had 75 goals. I was the big scorer to Toronto, but the competition was a little bit different. But we played them in the finals of a tournament. And my dad said to me before the game, he goes, "You get a chance to give that Gretzky number 9 a shot. Give him a little shot." What do you know what had happened? With 2 minutes left to go, Gretzky came out in front of his net, and I nailed him. He zigged when I zagged, so I, by accident, hit him. Took the puck off him and put it in the top of the net, and we won the game. Gretzky, from that time, I wanted to go over and tap him and say, "Hey, man, you're the real deal." We beat him 4-3. I had a hat trick. Gretzky had a hat trick. I went over to him to tap him and say, "You're the real deal." But he was emotionally discharged. He hadn't lost in his career yet.
I'm used to that.
How many games you can lose when you got a guy scoring 375 goals? Not many. But that turned over, and as pros, we played against each other. And if you want to play nice with Wayne Gretzky, he's the greatest player that ever. And I hope I got time to say this. He wasn't big. Matter of fact, he's kind of skinny. Wasn't strong. Matter of fact, he's kind of weak. Didn't have a big slap shot. Was okay. Wasn't lightning fast like a Mike Gartner. He didn't have bull-like strength like Bobby Hull whipping around. And that's why he's the greatest player that ever played. And people go, "Ludzik, have you lost your mind?" When everything, that's why Gretzky's the greatest player that ever played. You can't put a thumb on one thing that he did to survive.
Right.
If he was playing in today's game, he would see the ice. He was like playing a chess master. He was 3 moves ahead of you before he made it. I love the guy. I love the guy the first. I'm not quite sure he loves me, and I feel sorry.
Probably not.
I feel sorry for that, but he's the greatest player I ever saw, and I'm very proud to be a player that played in his time, that I can say, hey, I got an opinion about this guy, and just very, very privileged that he was the man that led us out of the darker ages of hockey.
That's great.
I have an area of the show we like to also bring up. Obviously, I'm not diagnosed with Parkinson's, but my mother was. But one area we also want the show to reach is the caregivers. And we always like to, obviously, you're the face of the foundation, but there are people in your life who mean the world to you, but also to us, because without their support, you might not be able to be the incredible advocate you are. I know I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing 24/7 for everyone still battling if it wasn't for my wife and kids. But we would always like to take a moment to see if you could share with us who helps you during tough times, and we want to send our love and support to those individuals too in your life.
Well, thank you guys, and I always kid everybody. I married young, but I married smart. I was 23 when I got married, and my wife has been my rock at Gibraltar all along. My 2 sons they play junior hockey, and they live 2 doors down from us. They have both sons live down the street from us. If you don't have a good wife, if you don't have a wife that gets involved, I mean, I can tell you an interesting story. She has a medical background, so she could talk on the par with the doctors. And I was having a liver transplant, and she said, you gotta be careful, because his proteins are gonna spike up and you'll lose them. And it was a 16-hour operation, and the doctors came out and said, you're lucky your wife's tough, because we were right, the proteins exploded during the operation for the new liver transplant. But everything in life is going to be that, and I appreciate the prayers and stuff like that. I really do. And in times of trouble, I think of my best friends that I grew up with, and I talk to every week. We grew up since we were kids. And one guy called me today, and he goes, "Ludz, every time I think of you, we were playing ball hockey, and I used to get all the games and against other streets, so there was something on the line." And I went to tell the guys on a Saturday morning, "Hey, we're playing burnt log down the street. We're not going there. You always get road games. We want to play at home, this and that." So I said, "I guess what? I gave my word. I'm going down, play myself." And I'm running around playing, and after about half an hour, they go, "We can't let Ludzik go down there by himself. We got to get down there and help him." And they came down, and I'm running around, and one guy yells to me, Donnie Strang, says, "Ludz, what's the score?" I said, "It's 3-1. 3-1. You're only losing 3-1?" And I went, "Losing? I'm winning." Playing by myself on the floor, on the road. So
Absolutely.
my buddies that I grew up with, they can always find a warm spot in my heart. And I don't think you can make it unless you have that stuff all marked down. If you're gonna get into a charity, give it your all. And the problem with me right now is that I've had 4 or 5 of the events, I was in the hospital immediately after. I was so run down. And my wife just kind of really wants me to sit back. But
And the last question from my side is just maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the foundation, because one thing we want to do after the show is really help support you and tell the world about the incredible foundation. But I always joke with Tim and say after the lights, the cameras, and paparazzi leave after the show, this conversation cannot end. We have to continue to fight together, because I think together around the world, our voices are so much stronger.
yeah, I agree 100%, George, with what you're saying. To be really honest, I'm gonna wait. I want to make sure all my health matters are 100%.
Sure.
We've done it for 10 years. It's sold out 1,000 seats every time we had a roast. It's called the Steve Ludzik roast.
Mhm.
We roasted Bobby Hull.
Oh.
Mike Keenan.
Will Esposito, Derek Sanderson, just a all-star 10 times. And we raised $1.5 million.
Huh.
And I'm glad you guys called because, I got to make some decisions along the way here in the next week. That's why I'm going down to Florida.
What part? I mean, wait till we're off. Don't tell me I'm not.
Yeah.
But
But
when you are ready to decide, or you always,
I mean, you guys will be the first to know.
no problem.
Steve,
Thank
I know you're a little pressed and we're going to let you go in a second, but
Oh, no.
the one thing that I'm going to say, and I'm going to try not to get choked up when I say this because it hits me at home. You've said a lot of nice things to us today. And like I said, I look at somebody like you as motivation for a guy like me. When I feel that I don't have it every day, I look at the positive impact that you've had being the fighter that you are. And the fact that I'm literally sitting here talking to you right now and that we're on the same team together, that
Yeah.
means the world to me. So I would ask you, I have the pleasure of talking to you right now. What would you say to the Parkinson's community that maybe feels like the way we felt at some point, we're just down and out? Give them a little
You know what I tell them? You know what I tell them? I say, and I'm pointing the finger at you, Jimmy. I'm telling you guys, go for it. Go for what your idea and your thought, making this a whole hub. Like the more people we have involved with ideas and remedies and workouts and sunglasses and this and that. I'm throwing the ball on your side of the court. You guys are really formed nice. You got a nice, first of all, you believe in what you're talking about. That's what I like. And you got passion. That's what I like. I can tell by just talking to you guys, you're not gonna stop.
No.
And it doesn't matter who gets credit for what, anyway, we don't care. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Pat, I'll come give you a pat. Just do good work. And I think you guys are gonna be fantastic. I'd love to show some people some exercises they can do.
I'm going to get them from you. I'll get them from your son.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna send it to you. What can I say? I appreciate, I go to a Tim Hortons for a coffee. You guys have Tim Hortons in?
not my.
No, I've been there, I think in Pennsylvania, but not by me, no.
No, Tim Horton was a famous hockey player. That's
Yeah.
what Tim Horton was. I forget. There's one of my Parkinson's things. I forget what I'm going to say
Okay.
sometimes.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, if I get gabbing and I go off point, where the hell where were we here? But you know what? Just like that, I make fun of that kind of stuff. But you know what I want to say? I draw power from waiting. I go for a coffee every morning at 7:00, and somebody new comes walking in, or they say, "Ludzik, how do you feel? You look great, or you don't look great, or whatever." I love that. My wife says, "You really got to go at 7:00 in the morning and be out talking to people till 7:00 at night and not bother me. It doesn't bother me a bit."
You're a people person.
I'm a people person, yeah, and you're right. And I don't. Do I think they're going to find a remedy in my lifetime? I don't think so. I don't think that a cure. I don't think so. But we can sure help the guy that says, I can't reach something in my cupboard, or I can't touch my toes, or I can't walk backwards, or my balance is off. Why can't, let's form a group that has these things that can do this stuff. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, I'm not waxing apples, but I said to my son and my wife, these guys got their heads on straight. And the great thing about it is you're helping yourself and you're helping Parkinson's patients. And it's much appreciation and much love from me to you guys for allowing me to do this.
And it goes both ways, Steve. And the last thing I'll say to you is, like I said, I'm very motivated by people, especially in the Parkinson's world, that are athletes, that are fighters. And I got a big picture of Muhammad Ali that I have autographed. And
That's the greatest athlete of all time.
Well, I'm going to email Mary Ann, your beautiful wife, and I'm going to send a picture, maybe one for me, one for George, and I want to have you sign it and send it back because you're going to go right next to Muhammad Ali.
Oh my God. You know, I love Muhammad Ali and I'm gonna tell you why. He wasn't afraid for you, the public, to see him in a bad state. And he basically said, come on, look at me. Look at me. This is what happened to me.
Right.
You know, and my greatest, hey, you know what, guys, that's the greatest honor anybody could do for Steve Ludzik. I'm not worthy of being beside Muhammad Ali, but that's pretty damn nice company you gave me.
Absolutely, sir. I
God bless.
look forward to it. Can't wait.
I hope you give me a call in the next week. I'd love to do your show again.
You absolutely will. And from the
Absolutely.
bottom of my heart, I'm sure from the bottom of George's, like I said, in the past 24 hours, I went from you being my hero to you being my friend. And we share the same team. And like I said, you could wear the C on my sweater on my team any day of the week, my man.
Hey, keep left, right, left, right. Keep going, guys.
Well, I wanted to just thank you, Steve. Thank you, of course, Tim. This has been a beautiful, we'll change the name just for today, but there's been a beautiful episode of the All-Star PD Sportscast where we talk about athletes around the world, whether battling Parkinson's or not. We need everybody as a family in this fight together. And like I said earlier, and Tim will agree, and Steve, this conversation won't end after the lights are shut and the camera
Attaboy.
off.
Guys,
Continue this, and please everyone share this, support Steve, and please follow us because we're gonna be back with some more great shows, but this is one that'll go in the history books, and we'll hang the show up too next to Tim's picture of Muhammad Ali. Thank you, sir, and thanks to your family.
thank you.
We send our
God
love.
bless you guys.
Much love.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you, guys.
How would you like to be remembered?
Former NHL player, writer, TV, coach, and a man who raises a lot of money for Parkinson's disease. That's all I'd like to be remembered.
I wrote a thing about Parkinson's. Everybody asks me about Parkinson's disease, how it affects me, and I'll tell you how I think. I talked with Parkinson's. I tried to ignore you, but you were a bully. You would not go away. I ran from you. I hid from you, hoping you would leave me alone. But someone should have told you. Somebody should have let you know. Somebody should have warned you before you started with me 14 years ago. You picked the wrong guy. You dialed the wrong number. You called the wrong guy outside. Now I am the hunter, not the hunted. I am the hammer, not the nail. That's the way I'll treat Parkinson's disease.